So, of course, this is an NBA show, but there are sometimes stories that transcend leagues. So we're going to go over to the NFL. Brian Flores, the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, is suing the NFL, the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Giants, and alleging racial discrimination and unethical hiring practices. And the NFL instituted the Rooney Rule in 2003, which was intended to try to increase the number of minority coaches. But since then, of the 127 head coaching vacancies, only 27 have been filled by minorities. That's according to the Associated Press. And currently, there's only one black head coach in the NFL, Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Flores joined our Mike Greenberg this morning on Get Up. Here is, in part, what he said.
Why did you feel you needed to do this?
Because we need change. That was the number one reason. And I know there's a sacrifice, there's risk to that, but at the end of the day, we need change. We need change. I know many very capable black coaches, some of my staff who I know, if given an opportunity or when given an opportunity, are going to go and do a great job on their interview. And I would just hate for that to be a waste. And I think, we need to change the hearts and minds of the people making those decisions. That's why we filed the lawsuit.
I now want to bring our senior writer for the Undefeated, Marc Spears. And Marc, you've written extensively about the NBA's diversity, or in some cases the lack thereof, in coaching ranks and in front offices. But for our viewers, can you walk us through what is the league's recent history when it comes to hiring black head coaches and general managers in the NBA?
Well, in 2016, things needed to be shaken up. And I actually talked to two NBA execs, Mark Tatum and Ora Stewart, who vowed that they were going to have change in the NBA, that they were going to get more coaches and more general managers that were black in a predominantly black league. But, in 2020, things certainly hit ahead in terms of the general manager executive process when the Bulls hadn't interviewed any blacks for their president position and ended up hiring Arturas Karnisovas. They eventually did hire a black general manager in Mark Eversley, but that sparked some things with teams from a black GM standpoint. And then last season, almost a year ago to the day, you remember when Ryan Saunders was fired as head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they did not promote an African-American associate head coach in David Vanderpool. Within hours, they hired Chris Finch, who is currently the head coach there. And that, I think, set up huge alarms. But since then, things have changed dramatically for the NBA in a good way.
Yeah, they have. And we've seen more and more black and brown head coaches being hired, to the point that now over half of the head coaches in the NBA are people of color, and several of them are black head coaches. But it hasn't always been that way. Our friend Scott Cacciola had a story, I remember, in the New York Times. It was a couple of months ago. And Willie Green said, quote, if this was 15 years ago, we probably wouldn't get those positions, is what he said. So what exactly has changed?
Well, last offseason, they had 8 positions that were open, and 7 were given to African-American head coaches, which is certainly, I think, surprising for those guys and great. And all of those coaches were certainly deserving and had paid their dues, some of them more than 15 years. So, and, 2 years ago, James Jones and Monty Williams were the only black head coach duo in the league. Now there's 7 such duos. So, I think it's getting much, much better in that regard. With Alvin Gentry being named the interim head coach of the Kings during this season, now it's tipped over to 16 coaches of color out of 30, if you consider, James Borrego of Charlotte and Eric Spoelstra of Miami. So, yeah, the NBA has certainly made some dramatic change in about a year and a half span. But it took the Vanderpools, it took the Bulls situation to, I think, force teams to wake up. And it's not just on the NBA, it's on the teams, really, more so, and the owners.
Yeah, so 13 black head coaches, 1 black interim head coach, and then also 2 head coaches of color. So this was all, though, in the past year, Mark. What still needs to change in the NBA?
Well, I think they don't need to rest. And I also hear from the general manager world that some of these GM jobs may be a little smoke and mirrors. You have guys that are named general manager in title, but really aren't the general manager. Where there's only one black president in the NBA basketball operations in Masai Ujiri, but respectfully, there's general managers in San Antonio, in New Orleans, in Philly, in Chicago, who are in name the general managers, but they have people above them that are actually making the bigger decisions. So that's not to undermine what they're doing, but I think people need to know that what that general manager title really is and how it differs in different places.
Absolutely. And Masai Ujiri has spoken extensively about the fact that he believes that there needs to be more representation in those higher up jobs so that the decision making, not just the folks who are executing the decisions that have been made, are also reflective of a league that is over 70% African American. Marc Spears, thank you so much for joining us here on NBA Today.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.